evening. Hello, everybody. I'm sorry my mic was off, but good morning, good evening, good day. How are you today? This is your transformation coach, Tramisha Mimi Wilson, and I have a special guest on today. She is just not a friend, but she is definitely a sister in Christ, and I'm so excited to have her on today. We've been talking and discussing through we know that this is Women's Month, and we were talking about walking in our new and what does it look like when it's not what you planned. And so we know that we've been seeing a lot of deaths in society, in our community, and even in our family. And one of the biggest things that we've been talking about is how do you handle that? How do you handle grief and what does it look like? And I know personally, knowing Miss Katrina for over 20 plus years, that she has experienced that in her past, but also in her present. So before I get into it, let me go ahead and say, welcome, my friend, my sister, Katrina Lungsford, and go in and tell us a little bit about you before we get started.
All right, let me summarize. I, Tramisha, it is good to be on. My friend and my elder and my person that helped me have my fun. I appreciate you for inviting me out. But I'm Katrina Lunsford, and I currently live in Lakeland. Uh, I'm multifaceted. My spiritual take is that I pastor, and I've been in ministry a long time from the gift of administration, evangelism. So I go a spectrum back. And then on my professional side, I work at a Fifth Third Bank. I'm actually right now currently in the corporate social responsibility area, which Jesus has forwarded me to be in to do some work on the national side of the bank related to communities, workforce development, and those things. And so not only do I have the commercial background and all of that, and then I'm community, right? Community. I've been serving all of my life, I could say, because my parents and all the folks that I come up with taught me how to serve, right? They showed it by example and living a letter to go by. And so with that, and then I am a widower. This year will be 12 years that
Wow.
my husband has been gone. And plus, my mother, my father is gone. I got a whole lot of stuff that have gone on through the period of time. And so that's a little summary of me. If y'all want to go find out more about my profession, I just go Google and find out Katrina Lunsford. I'm an open book. Born and raised Avon Park, live in Lakeland, love traveling. And so y'all go get that because I know that you want to get to the meat of the matter. That's who I am.
But people need to know who you are and the makeup of you. Because I think a lot of times people will see one side of you, but you are a multifaceted person. And what they see has not always been that. What they see, the laughter, the smiling, the having fun, as you so said. Y'all, we gonna have to do another podcast dealing with her fun side. But
Yes.
what they see now, the fun
Right.
side of you, which I love it, and the laughter and the joking and the kidding, and all of that in between, it wasn't always like that after the passing of Mr. Thomas. And I know that just recently they honored him, which was big. It was, tell me a little bit about the honoring part before we get into the other part.
Listen, you're right. There's always been a fun side. Those that personally know me always know pretty much on the personal side. But Thomas uh, was a powerful, quiet giant, but not quiet. He led. I mean, I just have to say that people would see him and think he quiet, but very well versed man that had humbling beginnings. Trust me, even prior to me marrying, right? And so he had a heart for people. He had a heart for education. He had a heart for folks because he wasn't through his journey afforded the opportunity with a single parent household and all that went on. I don't want to go into details with that to go to college until he married, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so that led him to the catalyst of really through some volunteerism from youth. He did a project with Victory Assembly one time. He did all kind of projects to help encourage those young people who may have been more challenged about they can make it. Because in looking at his life, right, how God had blessed him with somebody like me. That's what you. But anyhow,
Here she go.
yeah, I got to tell you, you know. And so he sold into, so he actually was on a board of the creation of New Beginning High School, which is a charter school here in Polk County that has expanded over 3 market areas. And so what they did was they dedicated that innovative lab. And you met those young people there that was very creative, taking that that's not like they're problem children. That's not the case, but didn't really function in the traditional method. I had some challenges or whatever. And so they named that innovative lab of that school after him. And so 12 years later, it took me a while to go and serve on that board. It really did, because I was asked after his death and I couldn't do it.
Right.
Because it was just too sensitive for me. But it was just a proud moment to see him being honored. Family came in that surprised me, that was his from up in Nashville in Kentucky. So it was very powerful. So that would live on. So here it was, about a little over 11 years later, the work that he's done. Even some of my personal family members didn't know the impact that Thomas had, because they saw him in certain different lights, but never really tooted his own horn. But you see what that was, and I was glad he was a part of it, because before he transitioned, he told you even what to do. So, and you're doing that.
He told me to make her current. He told me to keep her current with her look, and I can honestly say, if Mr. Thomas was here, he would be definitely proud that you have kept up the look.
Well,
you
yeah,
have kept up the look,
because you know Thomas bought the clothes.
Listen,
and hey, listen, you got to hear this early. Thomas was, oh man, he studied. When I first married, he wouldn't buy it, but he studied fashion. His family has a aunt that's still living. His mom was designer kind of people with clothes. So he always would go out and shop. Those that know Thomas would research and find those clothes and all that. Wouldn't tell me where he got them from. That's the truth. And so he wanted my hair and stuff to match what he was buying. So the truth of the matter is, he told Misha to make sure she keep me current.
So let me do something real quick. I gotta cut you. Listen, y'all. So I'm gonna show y'all. We just did a photo shoot for her.
Okay.
And I gotta play this, y'all.
Yeah, they try to put me in a box I don't fit. Try to make me blend in, I won't quit. God made me on purpose with intention. Every quirk, every flaw is part of the mission. They say I'm too much and not enough. Too loud, too quiet, too soft, too tough. But I was crafted by the master's hand. They don't understand, but that wasn't the plan. I don't need approval from the crowd.
Listen.
That's it.
So that's it right there. Seeing her walking in her new, walking in her purpose, walking and stepping out of the shadows of grief, because it even though you function, even though you're moving, even though you're still living, even though you're still operating in ministry, in the corporate world, still being a friend to people, you have those moments. But now it's like to see you being like in front of the camera, and actually y'all ain't see the back part of it. I ain't gonna show y'all that part, her cutting up, but that's the moment right now that we're talking about walking out of the shadow of grief and what that shadow looked like. And if you can expound on that a little bit for me. And I know that we're going to be talking about the different levels of grief, and you was talking about the 5 levels of grief. If you can expound on that a little bit.
Let me just say this. Grief is more than just the transition of life of a loved one. Grief comes in forms of divorce, job loss. I want y'all to really get it. Health challenges. You go through grief with health challenges, broken relationships, whether it's friendship or something else. Major life transition causes grief. And so I can't overemphasize that, because I don't think we break it down enough. And so grief is not just a straight line. Sometimes people say, hey, I go through this phase, that phase. It's more like waves, right? Waves, some days calm, some days overwhelming. And so when I name these things that I'm going to talk about, I want everybody on this line to think in terms of, you all may have been like me, where you think that give me these steps, give me this help I need, because this pain that I'm in, not only for my husband, that's what really triggered, but you know, my dad died, my husband, my mom, it's all kind of death there, but and job loss and family relationship, all that goes on. And so when you look at various levels of stages, you're going to come in and out of that. So it's not like, hey, I get to this step, I'm to the next. But first, what we end up doing is denial. It's like a shock. It's a shock or it's disbelief. And so as you're going through it, and as I went through, I'm like, I cannot believe that this just happened to me.
Yeah.
Okay. And so you feel numb and numb emotionally. And sometimes you just shut down.
Yeah.
And so with that, the mind, your mind is going in a process, Misha, where, and those that are listening to me, where you're protecting yourself from being overwhelmed with the pain.
Right.
So I want everybody to understand that denial is a part of it. Just because you know they're gone, but is this really real, right?
Right.
And then we have anger, frustration, trust me, irritation, or even a rage. That goes on.
Yes.
And the anger is really, when you look at the anger part of it, it's directed, it's really not directed at people, even though people is a beneficiary of anger.
Right.
But it's at the situation, and sometimes even at God, right?
Right.
And often it's a sign that there's some deeper pain and suffering. The more you love, the heavier this stuff gets on you. All right. Then there is bargaining. The bargaining, only what if, and I know that you've gone through something, you said, what if I have done this? What if this wouldn't have happened? What if I could have? And I remember sitting in the hospital by myself as Thomas was being incubated on something, and I still wasn't believing. I was trusting God for real. And I was like, okay, I got my files, you know, but when that happened, Lord, what if I would have did this instead of that, right? And so you go through that. It's a desire to regain control. That's what it is. And so when the reverse happens. So the bargaining, well, you know, you're trying to gain control. Depression is real. That's another stage that you deal with depression. It's a deep sadness. You can't avoid it. It's heaviness. It's withdrawal. And it's feeling the full weight of the loss. That's what happened when you feel like that. And so it's not a sign of weakness. I want y'all to know that the depression is not a sign of weakness. It's a natural emotional response.
Right.
It's natural. And then there's the fifth one, it's acceptance. This may take a while depending on if it's trauma. It may take a while because it depends on how this thing goes. And it really depends if you really get some help. So this is not like, acceptance is not like being okay with it, but with the loss, but it's acknowledging reality, really they are gone, right? And so you begin to adjust your life as to what's going on right now. And then finding ways to move forward while still honoring what you've experienced. And that's something that our people don't understand. As you saw the event and went to the event, it was very emotional for me. I was okay to cry. I don't want people to look at me like, you know, why are you crying? Because this is a trigger.
Right.
You know, and I learned how not to be angry with them questions because I went to training and counseling. But and even if you had a friendship or something with somebody, it's a part of what it is. It's not like you're stuck. It is those things that bring back those memories. So I just want to put that out as a premise so that folks will understand that it takes some work, okay, to be able to move in and out of this ball. Think about a ball with all these emotions going on and they're going in and out. That is what grief in any aspect that you may be dealing in your life is like. And I know that I'm talking tonight or this evening about it, but there are people right now listening to me can identify with what I'm saying.
And it's the truth. And I definitely can. when you broke it down to the 5 levels of grief, I never thought of it like that, with the denial, because you do go through that stage. I went through, not well, on both ends, with my grandmother being sick, and to see her go from this strong, vibrant, independent woman, and you, in your mind, that death is going to come, but you never expect it to come the way that it comes. And then with my two brothers, I had one that was murdered, killed, and then the other one was on his way coming home and had an asthma attack. And so it's sometimes it feels like it's no closure, and it goes to, what if we would have stopped him and he wouldn't have went over there, or what if I would have did something a little bit different with my grandmother. And you go into this blame game as well. You go into, I prayed, God, so you didn't hear me. And it goes into a anger stage, or we could have did something different, or angry even with yourself, and you do the bargaining. And I never looked at it like that. Then I go through the depression state, especially around holidays. I don't know if you experience that around holidays, and you don't even realize that you start feeling a heaviness, or it feel like something is wrong and I can't shake it. And then you look at a date, and all of a sudden it's similar around that date, that either they got sick or they transition, or whatever it is. And then the acceptance say, you know what? They not coming back. Now what do I do with this? And you go through those phases. And again, like you said, a lot of us, and I'm gonna say us as Black people, we don't believe in getting help. We
Right.
just learn to cope in it. But you have those moments that trigger, and you wonder, why am I going off on these people, or why why
You
am I
know,
frustrated?
it's not straight line. And let me just say this. I can remember when my dad died, and I didn't get the help because I didn't know to get the help when my dad died. And I ran on curves, and it was a long time where I didn't celebrate, because Christmas around the same December around the time.
Right,
Didn't celebrate. When I say celebrate, I went, but some days, some Christmas I would buy some Christmas I wouldn't. But
right,
here's the deal. What happens is that we can over spiritualize what we need to get naturally and get help with.
right,
And folks say things that, when I look at it now, that's from counseling. Counselor led me to a class that I took, and we'll talk about that later. But grief is normal. And God acknowledged humans' experiences. Let me
right,
just say that, because the scripture really, it don't treat grief as weaknesses.
right,
Human being, the human treat as weakness. And so, you had people like David, Job, Jeremiah, you had, Naomi, Mary, you had even Jesus, right?
right,
And how he wept, right? And
right.
knew he was going to raise Lazarus. So we have a philosophy that is so, and I cringe when they quote it. They do it all the time. When they have services, our services, the exuberant services, and I'm about exuberant services, not that I'm not, but they say, we don't weep as none don't have no hope. That don't mean you're
Come
not going to
on.
cry and you're not going to pain. That means that you're not going to curse God. That's what that
That
means.
one.
Okay. And that also means that you're going to fight your way through some balanced kind of way, with word and help and coaching and all of the other stuff,
Right.
to get where you need to go. And that grief has a purpose, and God has a healing process. And that's just not like going to a service and think you're going to catch something to tell you, or you're going to mess up your
Come
life.
on.
You're going to
Come
mess up
on.
your life because you do something that you should be waiting to do, because you'll have a tendency, whether it's buying, whether it's hook up with somebody else, whether it's being promiscuous, pain goes somewhere.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And so with that grief of purpose, there's a healing process, and you have to get the help to do that, because God does, he offers hope in the midst of grief. He did it for, but now I want to say this, and I know you have some more questions. in the middle of all the pain, especially with the death of Thomas Lunsford, okay? I had been preaching and teaching in gospel for many, many years. I was preaching and teaching before I married. In fact, when I met Thomas, Thomas was not preaching when I met him. He was a good brother that was concerned with souls and missions all in the church. Now, by the time I married, he was a minister. So by the time I married Thomas, I was evangelistic. I was the president of a national youth organization. All of that was going on prior to me marrying. I want you to hear this. And so by the time he transitioned, we are joint, you know, when I say, you know, he became the head pastor and all this, I had to live through, I knew then, Lord Jesus, if you don't help me, I ain't gonna make it through this. Now, when I say this, I want people to get it very clearly. It had nothing to do with my preaching, had nothing to do with my teaching. In fact, I don't listen to music. It had something to do with, I had a cousin, my cousin, Thomas Brown, who was an overseer, who took me aside, brought a fellow widower who had husband who had died, was a pastor that had died when she was young. And she told me what I was going to experience. She told me, she said, you're going to get in some pain.
Wow.
That can knock you to your knees, and you need to hold on to the name of Jesus. And then I had, you know, Kim, I had her to go find me a counselor, a Christian counselor, because my bank paid for it, right?
Right.
And Thomas and I always talked about our people don't get enough help for their own mind.
Right. Truth.
Right. So I knew I was going to need me some help. So I went and had her to give me a counselor. Then I had a friend, Dr. Miller, who we had another friend who was a sorrow, who was a person. I didn't care who they send to me. I wanted to play.
You needed some help. Right. Come on.
I didn't care what the people say. Listen. And so I got that. And then the people that I went to counselor told me about the class that we're going to talk about later to go to. And that was a 13-week course. And I sat down for 13 weeks. Now, you got to understand, my mom living at the time was sick. Right. That's another brief point. Right. She wondered, was I ever going to get out of class? Right. And so it's interesting that all the people that were close to me, and I had a lot of friends like Sylvia, I had a lot of friends that helped me. No, but let me understand. But I didn't think those friends was going to be around long enough to let me, because everything that I heard was that you're going to have to get what's in you out. Right. And people want to give you a party. They want to go fix you up. And everything that they thought would help was the opposite, because when you're taught right to go through this healthy, it tells you how to take doses and lean into the pain, not to run from the pain. Right. And busy is not your friend.
It's not. It's a mask.
And so I have to say that, because when you think in terms of spiritualization, y'all stop and get some help, because if not, you blowing up, you making all kind of mistakes. I'm just telling you. True. For real. And you gonna make decisions that can cost you, right? Right. And so I say that because from the spiritual side of it, you know, God promises us comfort and restoration, but that comfort and restoration is through real work.
Right. And that's the thing. A lot of times people don't want to work. They want the microwavable instant gratification of, okay, this is what happened, and now I can do this as a substitute and a filler, and that doesn't work. You have to, like you said, lean into the pain, deal with the pain, acknowledge the pain, and now, God, where do I go? How can I get out of walking in the shadow of this grief that's heavy? And it's in God's timing as well. Sometimes, and what I've noticed is people like this mentality or attitude that because they've never experienced it on that level, you still dealing with that. And when I think about you, and I'm talking strictly towards with your husband, they didn't have a husband like your husband. And I can honestly say, like, for things that me and you shared, for you walking in the office and a printout on how to love my wife even more. He's on his sick bed and he's getting stuff ordered to the house to make sure you still on point. And so it's the selflessness of saying, I ain't even worried about me and my condition. I want to make sure that you are good. Like he lived his vows. He lived his vows. So with you, I get it. I understand it now, seeing firsthand, because and
Right,
I'm gonna just be real, and men, please
right.
don't take offense. They don't make a whole lot of Mr. Thomases.
Well, you,
Um,
well, you
they
know,
don't.
I'm always a believer that because I didn't come up with Mr. Thomas, right? And I'm a
Right,
believer that there are men that are pursuant just like Lunsford was, and better. I
right,
am. Because I've experienced it, and I've also experienced it where I was happy that I did not. A lot of people go on and marry. God shielded me against my bad taste in relationships, and I
right,
didn't marry until I sought God to get me right first, right? To
right,
receive that He had for me, which was not packaged like most people thought it would be packaged, but it ended up being the best thing you can have. Now,
right.
I say that to say this: well-read people do well-read things that
Come
plan to
on.
do better with their lives. So it's
Right.
not about trying to quick fix something. That same God is a miracle God with matching, but you have to slow up. Something you said is very valuable. You have to slow up and recognize that in your pain, and understand this. Uh, you know, there's a term that people use. They call it success. But when you walk in this walk, that's you always got something before you, so it doesn't feel like success,
Right.
right? And so with that, if you take the time out, no matter how long it's been, to get you some real help. I'm not talking about going to 100 conferences now. I'm not talking about. I want to say this because
Come
I want
on.
people to get it. Sitting up in a room and just spilling your guts to people that sitting there just ain't got no answer about how you get through it. Because what I'm speaking of, I'm talking about doing your homework. I'm talking about a workbook that every day that you spend seeing very simple stuff and then going to a class. It ain't by somebody sitting around there listening to folk who was on the video that had gone through the experience, and the class leading you to the spiritual aspect. And then imagine this. I want you to imagine this, what I'm talking about, whether you go into a divorce class or you go into a death of a loved one class, or both of them. I call a divorce class the living dead, and I call those that go in the grave the dead dead.
You know what? Don't start.
I'm gonna be serious,
But it's the
but
truth.
it is.
It's the truth.
The
It's the
living
truth.
dead can be worse than the dead dead because they still walking the earth while you looking at them.
But you know what? Let's stick right there, because I think a lot of times people don't even realize that when you going into marriage, you go into grieving, divorce. I dealt with grieving on that level, and that's a whole different level, because just like you said, you experience a breakup or a death of a relationship, and these people, you physically seeing these people, so it's like the trauma is still there. So
Amen.
that's another level of, with the grief, get you some help.
That's right.
Get you some
And
help.
and they literally have the same system I went through, have a system for that too. But what I'm saying is, why keep making why blow your life up when you
Come
can live
on.
your life?
That's
Okay.
it.
And you talk about, well, how are you making it now? I used to wonder when this first happened. You got to understand, there were folks that were real close to me. They give you some testimonies, right? Listen, I wonder would I smile again, because I always was the person
Right.
I cut up. I've been who I am, and would I smile again? And there are some folks that call me or talk to me, and I've had folks say, Trina, you look too good to not, want to. I said, listen, I'm good. I'm good. I would tell them that, and
Right.
that was like, no, I don't have some. No, if he wanted me that wasn't the right approach to have either. I'm just showing you
Right.
that if Jesus wanted me to have somebody, then, he could have kept me with a hand, because that was real good. Right. And so, but then,
Come on. Tell the truth.
but then I had another mature friend that was like a father to me. that's not of our nationality, took me out and say, Katrina, and then he was talking to me, said, well, you know, about this is through my process moving forward. I'm like, Ron, I said, I don't know. I don't, you know, because we are told within our nationality people that you're not going to find nobody like that. What he said is revelational.
Come
You
on.
should have something better.
You
Okay.
listen,
So
you gonna make
now,
me throw a pen at this screen
now what I'm
because
telling
it's the
you is,
truth.
what I'm telling you is this: if you get your help that you need, right?
Yes.
And God bless you to get like I am now, enjoying myself and doing those things. I shouldn't look for the same. I should be. I will not receive the same. It had to be abundantly above, right?
Teach.
Of
Truth.
what I had, but you won't know that if you don't take time. I told y'all, and y'all don't have to be like Lunsford. I'm not saying you got to wait no 12 years and all that. No, I ain't saying that now. But what I am saying is that if you do this right and you get the help and you do the work, right? Do the work.
Right.
You can be to the point where you'll be okay with yourself. I was so used to going out, you know, you saw that black dress on that thing, you know what I'm saying? Okay, that would have been one of my, you know, my little day
Now
out. You know
tell her where that black dress came from.
that whole
and them red
outfit,
bottom shoes came from.
listen, that whole outfit, Thomas Lunsford bought that whole outfit that I had never worn. Okay, so let me tell you, because Mimi had to help me. He had bought, this is before our people knew nothing about no red bottom. I got about 3. I didn't even know. I was trying to pick some stuff out, and I was asking this lady on the film, and I was taking pictures. She said, you better not get rid of those boots. Those are red bottoms.
She was saying she putting in a pile, y'all, for Goodwill.
I had
And so-
never worn them before, and I recognized that that's, you know, cutting edge stuff. And so she looked at me, she's like, no, you aren't. And so I made a decision that leather dress, those red bottom boots that I never wore, the earrings, all of that was something that he bought. So, and I really was getting joy, to tell y'all the truth. It just blessed my soul and laughing. I mean, I had my friends, me and I just saying, you hot. I said, all right, okay, all right. And I was hot. I said, good.
Y'all should have seen her do it, but that was a part of, and when God gave me the title or the theme of this particular podcast, walking out of the shadow of your grief, because it does. Grief will cover you.
Amen.
It will dull your light, and just
Amen.
to see you, to dance, to laugh, shake a tail feather. They don't know about that part.
Yes, listen. I used
They
to
don't know about that part.
Listen, I used to do it. My family, my mom, everybody know I do. But of course, you know, you don't go around doing that because, you know, I abide in my calling and I'm good at it. Right. And I'm one person. But the you're talking about grief. So becoming my new is different. It is. Right. Now I had date clothes, play clothes. I had all of that because he bought those things. And some of those things, you know, of course, I got rid of them because I wasn't. But there are some things that I have that are very trendy. And you saw one of those. And I'm glad you put that cut. I'm glad you put that clip up because it speaks to my new, which is a different kind of new without a husband, right? And being okay to enjoy myself. Sure, there'll be times that I wouldn't mind going out. I'm so much better, y'all. But I am, the only person that can do this from the inside is God, really, is that, you know, I go out, you know, and just eat and enjoy, just relax and all of that. And if something was to happen in this new, then I should know it, right? Let's be real. Right. I'm not, nobody's banging my door down and stuff like that. That's not it. Is that the healthy portion.
Wait, y'all, because this is big.
Let me put on my glasses so I can see you.
Put them glasses on. See this right here, and I'm gonna say this. I love my friend. I really do. She opened up the door, so I'm about to walk through it. They are banging down her door. She just ain't answering it. Listen,
I don't know that.
You are. She
I
is a
hope they
beautiful.
when they bang down my door, they need to say hello. I am knocking on your door.
That's the thing. They ain't banging it down the right way. Let's clear this thing up. She laughed because she know they're not banging it down the right way. So if they banged it down the right way, then she would be able
Right,
to answer. But the
right.
thing is, they are banging it down, and I think a lot of times, with you walking in your new,
Hmm.
and this new is different for a lot of people because they seeing a whole different side. Because when we put the pictures out there and the video out there, because I'm about to play it again real quick, they were like, wait, what? Whoa, where is this coming from? And I'm like, this is really who she is.
Right,
She is stepping into her new bold, always been bold, but on a different level. And I love the edginess. And so they are bamming down the doors, they knocking down the doors, they peeping over the walls, they doing all of that. They just, and I think a lot of times they're not willing to approach you in that area
right,
because you are so multifaceted. They don't know what they're getting. They confused by it because you could enter into different rooms and you are that one
right.
person, but you're so different and you're so broad that they don't know how to approach you in that level. So let me clear that up. They are knocking, bamming, crawling, peeping, monitoring. They just not.
I don't see it, but the good part about, and I do agree with that probably, but I like this because it tells. And there was another widower that went to one of my classes because I've had
Right,
classes, and she came up to me at an event, and I didn't know who she was, but she was so gorgeous. I mean, it's transformative. It
right.
really is. It's transformative, right? And she was just sharing with me. She says, "You helped save my life." And so,
Wow.
because at the pain for time, there it goes back to biblical. With the compassion, you can't go through pain like this and
Come
not want
on.
to help somebody else.
Truth.
It's literally impossible. If you go through it the proper way with the seasoned help that you need, God uses that grief so that you can have compassion on others,
Right.
right?
Right.
Paul speaks of it. He said, listen, they like to quote that portion when they do services, but he says, with the same thing that God has brought you through, you help people, I'm paraphrasing, then you get the help you need. And so you find that to be true, that in the new, it's a new kind of new. It's a new
Right.
kind of new. I can't go back where I bring my husband, bring my mama, bring my dad, and bring my mother-in-law back, bring my aunt's back, bring my uncle back, you know, and bring. I had during the pandemic 4 parishioners that died 19 days
Mm.
in the same family. Forecasted sitting across the grave site. All of them, some of my key people dead. Right before I landed the plane to go bury my mother-in-law, I got the call of the first one of those folks that died. And 19 days after that, I'm doing that. That is off the charts, right? And
Right.
so, well, Lunsford, how do you how do you know to do that? That's because of the help and the work that was done prior, that you have a mind, right? Because it keeps going on and on and on. And you
Right.
didn't say something, Misha. I say this sometimes as I'm dealing with things, is that I have no capacity. I tell folks I don't have capacity for that. And so it changes your mindset from what you used to do and be all in. I'm a driver. That's who I am. But I find myself resting. I find myself doing self-care stuff. I find myself stopping. I find myself having fun, right?
That
Because
should go with
you
the fun.
you don't know when you're not going to have it, right? And I've met people over the period of years, and they were like, "What do you want to do?" I'm like, they say they've done it all. I say, "Well, I'm sorry, I haven't," because life is like that.
And outside of just, I know we have fun, we laugh, we always talking, we always
Mhm.
joking, we always jiving. And it was something that you said about the help. And I know that you offer grief classes at your church, which is in Lake Wells, Florida. And I will have all of that posted. But it's a site that you were telling me about. and you were big on make sure that this is available for the people because a lot of people don't know.
Right.
So if we can, to sum it up as we get ready to close the podcast about walking out of the shadow of grief, what would you say to people? What kind of wisdom would you give to them pertaining to this site as far as getting help
Okay.
and that perspective of what should they do?
Okay. If you put that site up, it's www.griefshare.org.
Mm-hmm.
This is a national based program. All you have to do is go online and actually put your zip code in it. They will tell
Mm-hmm.
you where a class is being offered close to you. And they give you daily devotion. You all
Wow.
heard me talk about, I went to this class, 13 weeks class, 3 times, the same class, so that
Wow.
I can wrap my mind around what just happened to me. Okay?
Wow.
Now, that class, of course, it's not a personal created class. It's a national based program. I put that out to people. We have one of the ladies at our church. We don't have a class going on right now, but she actually she lost her husband. She put it out there. It's on the website. You just go on the website. They'll show you the various churches that are having this course. I would not go if I was somebody. Now, to go, it's going to bring up some stuff. You got to stay in there. All right. Stay in there and go twice, because the first time you probably going to be crying, so you can't remember a lot, but you still
Wow.
can get the help. When I find people, Misha, and they say this and so I summarize this, that need help, I try to point them to this class no matter what state they're in, no matter what
Right.
location they're in, because that is help, right?
Right.
And we all have to be like train the trainer. We're not doing this and creating this product on our own. The other thing that I've done, and I've done this over the period of years, I personally, if I meet folks, if I personally meet people that don't want to go to class, I send them a Journey Through Grief book for 11 months. I send it the first
Yes,
3
you
weeks that
do.
somebody died, 3 months after that, 3 months after that, 3 months after that, to let them know what is this you just experiencing.
Right.
Okay. And I got a stack of nobody paid. I got a stack and I put it in my phone
Yes, you
to
do.
remind myself to send this booklet out, right? So that folks will know that they're not crazy, because they're going through these various aspects, and that you may be 5 or 10 years later, walk somewhere, can't remember where your car is because you're going through a trigger moment.
Truth.
Okay, that's a part. You're not losing your mind. Okay, but I do that because if folks want help, then I'm committed to, with the pain that I've experienced in my life, to help those that really want to get help. So those are the tools that I totally recommend. So, of course, you have a hospital that have grief classes, but this griefshare.org, it is one of the best things that you can go through. And Pastor Katrina, yes, she mails out books. If those that don't want to go to class, y'all can testify that I'm about trying to get you the help that you need, so that you can laugh and you can walk in your new, just like Katrina Lunsford is walking her new, not without my experiences, not without my remembrance, not without my triggers, not without crying sometime, but it can be better if you work the process with Jesus and taking that time out to get where you need to go.
That being said, y'all, I'm super excited. I thank you so much for taking out the time to talk with us, to talk about walking out of the shadow of grief. I appreciate you so much. I'm glad that I'm a part of your new and seeing the sun and the shine and the fun in all that we do. I thank you all for tuning in again to a new episode of BU Podcast. And until we talk again, be blessed, learn to be a blessing and not the problem. All right, guys, thank you so much, and I appreciate you.
Okay. All right. 404.